Hi guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today we are going to be doing, let me get the title of this correctly, the book addiction tag. Now, I did a video, it was only yesterday for me filming this, but I'm bunch filming some videos today. So it'll be a couple of videos ago for you. But I did a video asking for booktube recommendations because a lot of the booktubers I watched have stopped making content. And one of the recommended booktubers was Lauren and the Books. So I went to her channel and just watched the last video she had posted, which was this tag. And she was so much fun and so energetic, and it sounded like a lot of fun. So I just wanted to jump in and do it myself. Haven't been tagged, just seemed like a lot of fun, and I will link Lauren's video down below. So I'm looking at my screen here with the questions. I did watch her video earlier today, so the questions are not like blind, but I have not prepared answered. So be prepared for waffling because it'll probably happen. So the questions, number one, what is the longest amount of time you can comfortably go without picking up a book? And for this, my answer is probably going to be the same as Lauren's. If it is like without picking up a book, like without reading a physical book, it could be a couple of days. Sometimes when I'm really busy, a day or two can go by where I don't have time to pick up a physical book, but every day I listen to audiobooks. But if it means like when you finish a book, when do you pick up your next book? It's immediate. Like I might finish a book just before falling asleep. I'll wait until obviously I wake up to pick a book, but I never like finish a book and then go 2 days without starting another book. It has to be like I literally set the book down, take a deep breath, and I've like kind of sit in my head for a minute and kind of evaluate the book, think about what I'm going to give it on Goodreads. But before I even rate it or go on to Goodreads and mark it as read, I come and think about what I'm going to read next. To be honest with you, I know like as I'm reading a book, I'm thinking about what I'm going to read next. So if it's in terms of actually picking up a book and reading, it could be a day or two, depending on busy. If it's an audiobook, I listen every day. And if it means finish a book, when do you pick up the next one? Immediately is the answer. Question 2, how many books do you carry on your person, physical or device, at any one time? Well, I always have my phone, and on my phone I'm a member of 2 different libraries because I own homes in 2 different countries, so I have library membership with both. And I have both of their apps which provide ebooks and audiobooks to the thousands, so they're always on me at any given time. Books, I'm not one of those readers that takes books everywhere. I'm a very slow reader with a dyslexia, so even if I get like 10 minutes, like I'll hardly get through a page. I find it very hard to read with distractions, so I rarely take books out with me unless I'm going out to read. Sometimes I'll go to the park to read, or I'll go up the town on my own and I'll think I'll bring a book with me and I'll stop off at like a nice place on the way and sit and like buy a cup of tea and read, or I'll go to a cafe to read before cafes were no longer a thing. But in terms of if I was just going to like a mate's house or out to dinner or going shopping, I wouldn't really take a book with me, but I nearly always have, well, I always have my phone on me, which, as I said, ebooks and audiobooks, which I nearly have one on the go of at a time. And then my Kindle, which has hundreds of books on it at this point, and it's very often in my bag. So if I forget to like throw my current read into my handbag, my Kindle's there anyway, and there'll be something that I'm interested in looking at. Question 3, do you keep every book you buy / receive, or are you happy to pass them on? I get rid of nearly every book that I get. Series are different. I normally keep series unless I hated the series. Standalones, I only keep if I'll read it again, even if I thought it was a 5-star. Like this is my donation pile. I will give to friends or family. I don't have many friends or family who read, but if I do, I will give them something that I think they like. Otherwise, I wait for the pile to get a suitable size and then I donate them. But none of those things are happening at the minute, so the pile is getting kind of big. But like, the Book of Tomorrow by Celia Ahern, I read a month or 2 ago, and I gave it like a really, really high 4-star. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. The writing was great. The story was surprising. The pacing was fabulous. But I don't see myself reading it again, so someone else can enjoy it. Is there any up there that I really, really loved? A couple. So it's not a case of liking the book or not liking it. The book, for me, it's a case of will I ever read it again? And sometimes I read a book and it's a 3-star and I think I would read it again, so I keep it. Sometimes I read a book that's a 5-star, but I think I'll never read it again, so I get rid of it. So my shelves are a mixture of books that I've read and would read again, and in that case I've normally read them several times, and books I haven't read. So let's say, for example, The Circle by Dave Eggers. I have not reread that yet because it's still quite fresh in my mind for having read it quite a few years ago. But I feel like I will want to, I'm moving my bunting. I feel like I will want to reread that someday, and I also think it's the kind of book that someday somebody will ask you for a book that pertains to the topic of this and you'll want to give it to them. Let's see, what else? Liesl & Poe, read that and loved it and would read it again and again and again. The Book Thief, loved it, would read it again and again and again. And then all the other books haven't been read yet. As I said, the only books that I keep that even if I'm not 100% sure I'll read them is series. Don't ask me the reasoning on that. I just do. Question 4. How long do you spend in a bookshop on a standard visit? So I have a favourite bookshop. It's one of the only bookshops I attend, and it is a charity bookshop, and I normally don't spend too long there because I go and I nearly always only check out the carts outside. So the books inside are, well, I'm going to say full price for the charity shop. They're still like all under £3, but the carts outside are 50p. All the books are 50p. And there's only like 1 or 2 books of adult fiction. There's a there's a cart for children's fiction, and then there's a 4th cart, and it can bounce between like non-fiction, DVDs, like it has a wee bit of everything on it. So I normally only look at the sale carts unless I'm looking something particular, so it doesn't take long to go through 4 carts. It also doesn't help that I'm there like at least once a week, sometimes a few times a week. So when I'm kind of browsing, I'm like, that was there last time, that was there last time, that was there last time, that was there. Oh, this one is new. Let me like take a quick look at that. No, not interested. Put it back. That was there the last time I was here. So really, in that regard, I don't spend that long there, but I go very frequently. And it's the same. I have another 2 shops that I go to semi-frequently, charity shops for books. And they're the same kind of deal. One of them is not a book charity shop, so it just has a wee section of books, very quick to browse. And the other one is the same deal. It has sale carts outside, but they're all £1 a piece. So I tend to just browse the sale carts. Sometimes I will pop into a charity shop that I don't like, isn't one of my usual 3. And it doesn't take long either because they're normally smaller book sections, and I would never really go into a full price bookshop because that is not where I buy my books. I feel like I'm really waffly in this video, but here we go. Question 5. How much time per day do you actually spend on reading? And I was surprised when Lauren was able to say, like, on a weekday, this much. There's the sun back out again. If you've been watching my videos, I bulk filmed a few videos today, and it was torrential, and then it was sunny, and then it rained, and then it's sunny again. But I was surprised Lauren could say, on a weekday I read this much, on a weekend it's probably like a wee bit more, because my reading is completely sporadic. I think that's because I have a sporadic work schedule as well, but I could go a day or 2 without reading much. Like I might get 1 or 2 chapters in an audiobook, and that's about it. And then I could have other days where I literally spend 8 hours in one day just reading. So I don't really have an answer to that one, but I will tell you I always have a yearly goal of pages, and it's 36,500 pages a year, which is an average of 100 pages a day. And I don't read like 100 pages a day and then stop. It's just like constantly a goal in the back of my head. So at the minute, like we're on day 230 something, but I'm on over 25,000 pages, so I'm a wee bit ahead of myself. But so if you had to look at it over the year, I read about 100 pages a day on average, which would, for me and my reading time, that would be probably, it would be over 2 hours. There's no way I read 2 hours a day. Low battery. That's telling me to hurry up. So if you were to look at that, that's over 2 hours reading a day on average, but it doesn't translate to that. It can be, don't read for 2 days, and then read for 6 hours, and then read for 8 hours, and then read for 9 hours, and then not read for 3 days. So I'm not sure how to answer that one. Sorry, I just took a real coughing fit there for no apparent reason. So, where were we? How many books do you reckon you own in total? Now, this is an interesting one because I may be able to get you a rough estimate. So I have on Goodreads three different to read shelves. One of them is like want to read, just like I've heard about them, thought they sound good. I don't have many on there. And then I have Kindle to read, and that's the books that I own on my Kindle but have not yet read. And then I have an own to read, which is books that I actually own on these shelves but haven't read yet. And as I said about getting rid of books, the majority of the books that aren't series are unread. So the books that I own on my shelf that I have not read is 91 on my Goodreads. That could be off by a couple if it hasn't been updated. And I reckon that I probably have 20-ish books that I have read. So not including series, I reckon I have about 110-ish books. Add series in and you're looking at maybe 150, because there's also books, children's books over there. And there's another bookcase downstairs. So with these, the bookcase downstairs and those ones, if I had to average, I would average out at 150-ish. But there has to be a little margin in that. And as you can tell, the majority of them are unread because that's only standalone unreads. But like I have like series of like 4 and 5 books here that are all unread too. So I would say 150 with over 100 of them are unread books. Oh, we missed some. We missed number 6. Where does the task of picking up a book appear on your daily to-do list? I'm not really big on daily to-do lists. You'd think as a teacher I would be, but I'm not. So in terms of like every day I have to do certain chores, obviously working is a priority. Like in terms of hobbies, it's right up at the very top. And it's something that I try to do every day. Number 7. Yes, that's how many books do you own in total. Great. 8. Approximately how often do you bring up, this is the dyslexia kicking in, I can't even read the sentence. Approximately how often do you bring up books in conversation? And unfortunately, that outside of BookTube, that isn't very much, and that's one of the reasons why I started BookTube. I don't have a lot of friends and family who are readers. My husband was not. He did read and he enjoyed literature before we met, but he wouldn't read often. When he did read, he would really enjoy it, but he wasn't really a reader. And he goes through spates of like, he'll not read a book for like a month, and then he'll like read non-stop for a week. And then he always says, why did I stop reading? I enjoy it so much. And then he'll get busy and it'll stop. So he will ask me on the daily basis, what are you reading? Are you enjoying it? Or I'll say to him, I started a new book last night and this is what it's about. And he'll be like, oh, that sounds interesting. But that's more just kind of like daily over dinner conversation. And outside of that, it actually is not really that common. What is the biggest book, page count wise, that you finished reading? Man, I was going to say, the first thing that popped into my head was a couple of summers ago, I managed to complete War and Peace. But it's shy of 1,000 pages, but this is because look at how small the text is. So this is like by far the longest book. But my edition is extremely tiny print, so it's actually under 1,000 pages, in which case I think Order the Phoenix is over 1,000 pages, so if you're going on page count, that probably matters. But then also I have the Inheritance Cycle over there. That's some long fantasies. I don't have an answer for this one. I have no idea. I also have read some massive fantasies on either ebook or borrowed them from my library, so they're not on my shelves and they're not popping to my head. For instance, the Mistborn trilogy is quite long, So I'm not sure on terms of pages, but certainly word count and like length of time it took to read, War and Peace is by far the longest book that I've ever read. Why am I so scatterbrained today? I'm completely lost again. Number 10. Is there a book that you had to get your hands on against all odds, search bookstores, online, digging, stalk the author, etc.? Not really. As I said, a lot of my books all of my books come from charity shops, secondhand stores, or the library. So in terms of finding specific books, that's not something that you can really go to those places looking. Sometimes you'll go to the library and like, do you have this specific book? And they give it to you, or they say, no, we don't have it. And you go, all right. And then you just keep an eye out for it secondhand. I've been really lucky recently. If you watch my last couple of hauls, I got, is it Nightbridge, the Ken Follett trilogy? I got the first one of that ages and ages and ages ago at a book swap. And then I was always looking out for the other two in the trilogy because I don't like starting series until I have them all. And then I found the third one it must be a month ago, for £1 in a charity shop. And then the next week I found the second one for 50p. So I got the whole trilogy for £1.50, which is absolutely crazy. So like I have books like that where I'm like, yes, I know I want this book, and I keep an eye out for it. And it sometimes turns up in a week if the fate's meant to happen, or sometimes you'll look for years for it. But I don't like look for specific editions. Like these 3 books are all 3 different editions. It doesn't bother me, and I don't like go to specific shops looking things or anything like that. I have books in mind that I'm constantly looking for, and that list obviously updates and changes, but like I wouldn't go searching for them, if you understand what I mean. Number 11. Is there a book you struggle to finish because you refuse to DNF? No, if I'm not liking a book, I kind of drop it. I think it would be different if I was in any like book clubs or something. You would feel maybe obliged to finish it, but I'm not. And then there's longer books like War and Peace. At parts I was struggling, but I didn't want to DNF. So I've had plenty of books that I've struggled through, but it wasn't because I was refusing to DNF it. I did want to finish it, I just struggled through it. So I would say the answer to that one is no. You'll be glad to know there's only a couple more questions left. 12. What are some of your main book goals for next year? I have not thought about this whatsoever, but as I said earlier, one of my goals every year is to read 36,500 pages a year. So that will probably maintain. I always set my Goodreads goal to 52, which is 1 book a week, which I always get. I'm like way past that. I'm in like the high 70s already for August. But other than that, I think it'll just be like the general to like read what's on my shelves and try to read more diversely and track my reading and to keep up with BookTube and all those like generic ones. I don't think I have any like really specific goals for next year, not yet anyway. 13. Have you ever had the privilege of converting someone into a reader? No, I've had people that I encourage. I have a cousin who reads quite regularly, and I would say definitely I loan her books and talk to her and encourage her to read with our discussions, but I wouldn't say that I made her a reader. And then as I said with my husband, he always enjoyed reading, but I think because I'm always reading and talking to him and suggesting books, I probably make him read more than he would on his own. But we've been together for over 7 years, so I'm not sure how like that would have evolved like independent of me. When you meet someone at like 18, 19, he probably would read more now than he did then anyway, so I think that one's hard to tell. So but I would like to think that as a teacher of young children, I inspire people to read. I'm not sure if you could say you convert them into readers. That would be very hard to pin, but I do like to encourage and inspire children to read on a daily basis in the classroom. And that's something that I really, really love, teaching them the joy of reading. So I hope that I inspire people to read, but I'm not sure you could say that you were converting them into readers. And finally, describe what books mean to you in 5 words. Now I'm going to have to come up with this on the fly, which is why you should always prep your answers. But I'm going to say they keep me sane mostly. They're a great sense of stability to me. They bring me a lot of enjoyment. They bring me closer to people socially, on Twitter and things. It makes social media easier for me because I'm doing it with this perspective of books. To have made friends through this is escapism, but also reality and learning and inspiration. And definitely reading has helped with my dyslexia. Dyslexia has made reading harder, but reading on a daily basis teaches me to cope, and that has helped. So I would just say that books have done more for me than what I could put into 5 words, but they keep me sane mostly. I don't know how I would function without books in my life. So that is the final one. Yeah, all 14 questions. I will tag or link Lauren's video down below. As I said, you should go and check her out. Like, I only just found her and watched this one video today, but already she's a hoot. So I will leave you here. I hope you guys are happy. I hope you're healthy, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.